this year.
First pitch swinging, line drive, he's done it. John Means has no-hit the Mariners. They go! Brown fakes, dishes, Kyrie going for the 50-piece. Irving has 50!
Pressure from the Steelers. Mayfield in trouble, and he's going to be taken down. Who else but T.J. Watt?
First downs on this drive. Heineke, end zone, McLaurin, touchdown!
Torres drives that ball center field, hit deep, going back near the wall. Wilkerson, maybe, nope, goodbye, home run. Get him out of there! Don't throw to him.
I never seen anything like
Put
it.
up four fingers.
I've never seen anything like it.
He is just tearing the Orioles apart.
Jonathan Taylor, goodbye, touchdown, Indy, as he crossed the tape at the goal line. 78 yards.
And here we go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Sports Department Podcast. And it is time for another NFL Division preview for this upcoming 2022 season. I am Stephen Bologna, and just joined by Justin Valentovic today. It's just us two manning the ship.
Happens when one oversleeps and one is under the weather. So here we are, last man standing at that point, and rightfully so. I'd call out sick too if we're doing the NFC North, because this division is brutally bad.
Yeah, and the team that we expect to win it got a little worse this offseason.
Yeah,
I think that's fair to say.
Really, every team in this division didn't do like anything dramatic, and that's just because like the Packers don't necessarily have to, because the talent gap between like the Packers and Lions is significant. The Packers and Vikings, if we're being honest, is relatively significant. And the Bears are a mess as well. So just like what do the Packers necessarily have to do to get better as well? They didn't really have to. Granted, yes, they traded Devontae Adams, so they got worse in that regard. But also, even without Devontae Adams, they're still significantly better than the next second place team, which would be the Vikings by default. So that's just a quick summation of the division, at least, before we get into every single team.
Yeah, no, it's NFC North is not going to be great. We expect the Packers to win, but
it's like the AFC South before like the Titans and Texans were good, when it was just the Colts like kind of sleepwalking through it throughout the whole Peyton Manning entirety.
And then like the Colts dipped off, so then, like the Texans rose to the top. Yeah, and now the Texans are almost at the fucking bottom. Yeah,
it's like there was never like the North. It seems like there's always just it's always the Packers, and then maybe one team to kind of give them a run for their money, but they never actually do it. You know, like it was the Bears like during Jay Cutler. It was the Lions sort of with Stafford, but even then they were a mess. And then like the Vikings, what have they done? Keenum, yeah, exactly. So it's like there's never been a consistent depth of talent in the whole division, and that still has yet to change.
Yeah. So let's start off with the team that projected to finish last in the division with plus 1,400 odds. A team that has a nice young quarterback who you would have expected to maybe build some pieces around. No, not at all. The Chicago Bears, Justin Fields manning the helm at quarterback. Just kind of looking at their moves this offseason. Their big wide receiver signings were Byron Pringle and Equanimeous St. Brown.
After letting Allen Robinson go. So it's like there's a dramatic downgrade.
Yep. Jakeem Grant is gone. Their starting right guard, James Daniels, is gone. And their best defensive player, Khalil Mack, is gone. So
they had to get rid of Mack for the sole purpose of getting assets to try to help Justin Fields, because they had nothing, because they had to give up a lot of assets to get Justin Fields. And in turn, they didn't do anything really to help him with said draft pick from Khalil Mack yet.
And recently, Roquan Smith is holding out of camp in hopes of a new deal. So it's going to be a bad year for the Bears.
Like, I've never seen
Who's their coach now? Oh, it's Eberflus, right?
Yeah, it is. And
like, we'll take a defensive-minded head coach.
But it's like, oh, okay, fine. You still want to stay with defense and have Eberflus work on that and make really one good side of the ball. That way, then, you know, maybe they get the ball in Justin Fields' the ball in Fields' hands more. But no, you trade Khalil Mack, and then Roquan Smith. Who knows when he'll be playing? And the secondary is still a sham. It's not a good unit. It's not a good team. They haven't done anything to help their young quarterback. When was the last time you saw a team draft a young quarterback and then significantly regress the next year? God, like, honestly, when has this happened?
I don't know. The Bears just
exist and they fuck it up, really. is really what it is. Like, I don't like Justin Fields is going to get sacked a lot. He's going to throw a lot of interceptions, and it's going to be a bad year for the Bears again.
Looking at, their wide receiver room, Byron Pringle, like we said, Equinemius St. Brown, Darnell Mooney, he's solid, right? They draft Velus Jones Jr. in the second round of the draft, who is 24 years old, mind you. So, okay, you're looking at that, but then you realize there's not a single receiver like over 6 foot in that room.
No, they're all small.
They traded for N'Keal Harry. What's that really going to get you? After, if you can't work on the Patriots, you're not going to work anywhere else.
Since they drafted freaking, oh God, who's the West Virginia bum?
Kevin White.
Yeah, since they drafted him, they've yet to have like a competent wide receiver that they like tried to home grow. And then they brought in Allen Robinson, where it's like, great. And then they just did nothing else. It's like, okay, cool. We have Allen Robinson. He's our guy. We don't need any other wide receivers. And it shows that they still don't give a shit about the wide receiver position.
And then the second, like, Robinson came to town, he's like, I want out. I want out bad.
Yeah.
David Montgomery's a above average running back. Cole Kmet is was good in college.
And didn't Tariq Cohen tear his Achilles working out from his ACL injury or something like that this offseason? Like, there was that video of him training and he got hurt again.
Yes, he popped his Achilles.
So it's like
he's gone anyway.
Yeah.
So this offense might be just like historically bad.
The team as a whole is probably going to be historically bad.
The offensive line, I mean, Riley Reif he's a solid journeyman. Cody Whitehair's good, but like
Fields
Larry Borum, Michael Schofield.
It's like, reminiscent. It's going to be Watson with the Texans, Wilson with the Seahawks, and then Luck with the Colts, where he's going to be constantly under pressure and he's going to be taking unnecessary sacks, and then he's going to be running to not get sacked, and then that's where an injury could happen. It's going to be a rough year for Justin Fields, and then it'll all fall on him because he's the quarterback, but it also, you look on paper, what did they do to help him? Nothing. They got worse, if anything, again. Really, I really think 3-4 wins, honestly.
Yeah, this max 5 to 6 if we're really lucky. I mean, this defensive line, they luckily got Robert Quinn back, who somehow had just 19 sacks last year. Trevis Gibson is a D-end. Angelo Blackson starting nose tackle. I mean, Roquan Smith obviously is good. Jalen Johnson, DB. They drafted Jaquan Briscoe, who's pretty good, and Eddie Jackson.
Yeah, but it's like outside of Jackson, it's like, what do you have in the secondary?
I know they went from having like a top secondary to
Kyle Fuller, Adrian Amos, Eddie Jackson. It's like, oh, this is great. Yeah. And now it's like, what the hell happened?
Yeah, I'm with you. 4 to 6 wins, probably in that range.
And honestly, I could see Fields having much more turnovers than actual touchdowns. Like, it's going to be a rough year for him.
Big time. And, kind of like you said, it's shitty, but it's all going to fall on him.
But then at that point, here we go with, Fields is not the quarterback. Ohio State quarterbacks never transition. It's like, here we go again. And the Bears will be in the market probably in 2 years because we're coming up on we're in year 2 now. And at the end of this, it's like, okay, going into year 3, what is he at that point? And then by the end of year 3, if nothing's happening, it's like, okay, what the fuck are we doing then?
Looking at their schedule, they start off against the 49ers. That's a loss. Travel to Green Bay. That's a loss. They play the Texans. That's just a battle of crap. The Giants, battle of crap.
So maybe
Minnesota.
I say they split.
Patriots. Yeah. Like you said, luckily, if they can get 5 to 6 wins, plus 1,400 odds to win the division, you think it's possible?
No shot. No shot. Honestly, even if like something catastrophic happened to the Packers, like Rodgers goes down, the Vikings, and honestly, I would like the Lions better at that point.
Yeah. And so, speaking of the Lions, this is a team that probably had the best offseason in the division.
Yeah.
Nothing like no catastrophic moves to make them better, but they showed a lot of grit and fight last season. You get Aiden Hutchinson at 2. You trade up for Jamison Williams, who pre-ACL tear was wide receiver 1 in the draft. They signed DJ Chark and Mike Hughes. They re-signed Charles Harris and Josh Reynolds. They're not going to win the division, but plus 1,000, they might push for 7 wins.
I think they could flirt with 7 to 8 wins, and that's just because I like what Dan Campbell's doing. He's a psycho. We all know that, but it's working. But Goff, he's a fine rebuild quarterback. He's better than I would say a third of the league at least for the most part. He's not incompetent.
Yeah.
Like you said, they brought in Jameson Williams, who is a great wide receiver. DJ Chark, good wide receiver. DeAndre Swift is still there, so they have the running game for him too. And it's Aiden Hutchinson. It's okay, they have an actual pass rusher on that side of the ball for just to have, and he's from Michigan, the whole thing. So he'll be playing with that whole energy behind him. It's a fun team. Is Goff going to be there long term? Probably not. Are they probably getting the seat warm for a Bryce Young or whatever other quarterbacks ever come out of the draft? Who knows? Probably, just because contract wise it makes sense. But if Goff plays semi-competent, takes care of the ball, and more of a game manager, Alex Smith type, they can get 7 to 8 wins, I think, pretty easily, especially when they beat up on the freaking Bears twice a year.
And what's crazy is too, this team lost how many games by 1 possession last year?
Yeah, majority of them.
They were close. Amon-Ra St. Brown was really good last season. You have
Quintez Cephas.
Yeah.
Jesse's boy.
Yeah, DeAndre Swift again. Panay Sewell was awesome.
They have young pieces in place, and it's sort of, turning around for them after completely gutting it, which was just so sad.
Yeah. But again, I think 7 wins is fair. I think
which that's great, because a lot of people thought they were going to be, consistent first overall pick multiple years in a row. So to make that jump from they went 1 or 2 last year to 7, I'll take that. And then next year you hope for 10.
Yeah, it's all about the quarterback situation. Probably Goff's last year, I would say, or maybe you take a rookie and then
have him sit behind Goff and then kind of swap
Goff
it out
for a couple. Yeah, basically. But the Lions plus 1,000 to win the division. You think it's possible?
No, maybe a playoff spot, perhaps, because the NFC is a lot weaker than the AFC. Once again, I think for them to have a shot at the division, something catastrophic would actually have to happen, and that would be obviously Rodgers going down.
See if the Lions can pull something off. Doubt it, but you just got to get better. When you're in a rebuild, you just have to keep upgrading.
And I think they'll sneak out a few wins of teams playing down to them, thinking they could just kind of cruise control, through the Lions. And I think that's where they'll catch a few teams sleeping, and that's where they'll get a few of their wins as well.
Yes. I want to take a quick look at their schedule to see who they start off against.
The schedule.
Yeah, I think they play. Yeah, so they start off against the Eagles, week 1, then against the Commanders, then the Lions, Seattle, Patriots, Cowboys. Probably 2 and 4 there.
Yeah.
Again, they're probably going to beat the Commanders, but
they'll probably they'll beat the Seahawks, who are actively tanking.
Yeah. So probably 2 and 6, 2 and 4.
But then at that point, if you can eke out a few wins here and there, everyone will be happy.
Yes, and Dan Campbell looks to save his job, hopefully. So,
and he can bite some more kneecaps
and drink his 3 venti espresso shots.
I have no idea how his heart doesn't just give out at this rate. It's insane. Oh, and the Lions, they're on Hard Knocks, I think, right? They're the preseason one.
I think they're the preseason. And then who's in season?
Isn't the Cardinals, which the drama's a lot less now that Kyler got
but I feel like it's vice versa.
Is it?
I feel like the Cardinals are preseason, Lions are in season.
Let me look.
Let's get a fact check on that.
Detroit Lions. You're
gonna have to click in the article to.
The Arizona Cardinals will be featured on HBO Sports Hard Knocks in season. So that means the Lions will. Yep, the Lions are on the preseason one.
Okay.
And they reached out to do it, which means they feel good about themselves and they actually want to show that they're competent.
The Lions have been on it before, right?
I don't know.
I think so. I think early.
Yeah. Because I know there's a period you can't be on after you've been on. So.
Yeah.
Just that.
Yeah, so we'll see if the Lions can pull some magic and go for a wild card spot. Now, the team with the biggest opportunity to win the division that they've been waiting for a few years now is the Minnesota Vikings, led by the great Kirk Cousins. And looking at their key additions, Harrison Phillips, Jordan Hicks, and they steal Zadarius Smith from the Packers, who agreed to a deal and then he backed out.
Right? And he wasn't the Ravens.
Oh, was it the
he went to the Ravens and then he dipped.
Oh, jeez. I thought he was with the Packers.
I remember
he signed with the other purple people eaters.
Exactly.
And they lose Tyler Conklin, Mason Cole, and Xavier Woods. Nothing too crazy. But with the Packers downfall a little bit this offseason, this is it for Kirk Cousins. He needs to win the division.
I think this is last year. I think this is last year regardless with him. Because wow, how many times have they extended his contract to freaking finally, weigh out that money? He's signed through 23 as well.
Hell yeah, baby. He's not going anywhere.
Oh my dude, if they were to cut him, his dead cap this year would be $80 million.
Washington, they can thank Washington for that one, basically.
And then next year, his dead cap's $48 million. So if they decide just to dump him next year, they're eating a lot of money. Boy,
that's why you better hope he just wins the division. Get this,
or just get to the. Have they even been to the playoffs with him, like ever?
I don't think so.
No, because I think it was always freaking everybody else. Teddy made the playoffs, then Blair Walsh happened, and then Keenum made the NFC Championship game
and got fucking demolished. That was 17.
Yeah.
It's been a while for the Vikings, but they got. I mean, listen, talk about a team that knows how to draft. I mean, Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson. You can legit make the argument is the best receiver in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Offensive line is I feel like they've just never addressed the offensive line, but it always somehow holds up.
But never with like significant moves. It's always like the journeyman rotational line that they throw in. It's like, oh, okay, Kirk Cousins was sacked 5 times this year. That's it.
Yeah. Looking at the defense, the secondary is bad. Chandler Sullivan, Cam Dantzler. They drafted Lewis
Smith's still there.
He is, and they re-signed Pat P.
Yeah, but those two 30-plus-year-olds.
Danielle Hunter's still there after his trade request just went under the rug. Eric Kendricks, Jordan Hicks, Adarius Smith, Dalvin Tomlinson. So a couple decent names on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
With new head coach now, Kevin O'Connell. So they're really hoping for one of those McVay,
disciples
coaching.
To finally put together. The only one being Zach Taylor, which took a few years finally, but that was after
fucking Washington OC head coach.
That's so sad for you.
I liked O'Connell too. Mm-hmm. He was good. And then McVay had to fucking poach him.
Yeah, but it happens. But once again, I think everything kind of has to go right for the Vikings at this point. And if it doesn't, it's just a mess, really.
Got to stay healthy.
There's no reason they don't compete for a wild card, for sure. Because if we're being honest, they're better than most teams in the East. They're better than most teams in the South. And they're, worse. But then at that point, there's 3 divisions right there. You're better than that. You're in second place for most of them at that point. So there's no excuse that they're not in the playoffs, really.
And I think one real question mark is, what Dalvin Cook do you get? Do you get 1,000-yard rusher, 16-game Dalvin Cook, or do you get off to a great start, gets hurt week 5?
ACL tear.
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook.
And he's awesome when he plays.
And Dalvin Cook switched his number this year. No longer 33. Isn't he like 4?
He's back to 4.
Which that's
big news.
Yeah.
Jefferson he's just going to keep rising that value.
Yeah, it's
It'll
like
be awesome.
it's literally like Randy Moss all over again. If we're being honest, just the productivity and the explosiveness downfield, it's insane.
He's awesome. KJ Osborne, wide receiver 3. I'm trying to think. They drafted. They drafted Irv Smith Jr. He's a Bama boy.
Okay, so that's an offensive lineman, basically. Nice.
They drafted secondary with their first 2 picks in the draft with Andrew Booth Jr., who I know you watched a lot of tape on as a Clemson fan.
100% correct.
And then Louis Cine from Georgia as a safety. So the pieces are there, but this is the year they need to jump the Packers. They always play the Packers tough too.
Yeah,
which is
except
hilarious.
They suck against every other team now.
I know.
And then they choke, and then they are miserable.
So looking at their schedule, they obviously play the Lions week 3, as we've said before. They open up against, please, they open up against the Packers, actually.
Oof, set the tempo.
At 4:25.
Nice.
The first Sunday. Then the Eagles, Lions, Saints, Bears, Dolphins, and Cardinals. So a little bit of a
tougher schedule, yeah, for sure.
They play the Coltsies this year.
Oh boy, can't wait.
So, God, I know. We'll see if the Vikings can finally rip the Band-Aid off and win the division that they've been looking for years now.
There's no reason they shouldn't win 9 to 10 games minimum.
Plus 265 for the division win. You taking it?
No, still the Packers. As long as Rodgers is healthy and walking this earth for the Green Bay Packers as quarterback, the Vikings are not taking over the division. So At that point, focus on a wild card, win 10 to 11 games, and just get in. And then at that point, see what happens.
So speaking of the Packers, the big offseason move was signing Jaron Reed from the Chiefs. And they re-signed Alan Lazard, Robert Tonyan, Devondre Campbell, and Rasul Douglas. All starters.
Good players,
all good lines. But, Justin Valentovic, they lost one key piece. And who was that key piece?
Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
The other wide receiver, Devontae Adams. Yeah, he's gone. And they used the draft pick on another wide receiver at least. But you lose literally the best wide receiver in football. And you do nothing else really at that point. You get cheaper at wide receiver and you get younger at wide receiver. And it just seems like that's the Packers' MO. They never want to pay a wide receiver. And once they develop them, they're gone. So poor Aaron Rodgers. It seemed like
you said it well.
They wanted to stay together. If Rodgers were to leave wherever he were to go, then Devontae would follow because they wanted to play together, it seemed like. But Devontae got the bag and was traded to Oakland or Vegas. And
Oakland.
And he's with, his old college quarterback and Derek Carr. So he's happy. But how happy is Aaron Rodgers at that point? Did you see him roll up to training camp like friggin' Nick Cage out of Con Air? It was just ridiculous. I've lost interest in him, honestly. Like the whole immunized thing is just, it's just like, he's just become so weird. And then he's like, he got tattoos. Like, cool, bro. No one gives a shit. Like, he thinks, like, honestly, Rodgers, like, he thinks people care more about him than, like, we actually do. It's like, dude, just stop, please. Like, you're not funny. You're just odd. You're just very, very, like, he's really gone off the deep end the past few years, honestly. And he's in a different relationship, it seems like, every other week.
Yeah, and then he was gonna get married the one time. Just like, wedding is off.
Yeah, he's just
like,
even on and off the football field, he's an indecisive fuck. So it's like, I don't. Do you want to stay? Do you want to leave? Do you want to go? Do you want this receiver? Do you want to pay this guy? It's like, oh my god.
But on the football field,
he's still going to lead the Packers to an NFC North title for the 1,000th time in a row, and he'll throw 2 interceptions the whole season. He'll probably have another MVP campaign. Nothing will change. They'll get to the playoffs. They'll choke. He won't get to the Super Bowl, and we keep doing this until he eventually retires, and who knows how long at that point. But it's the same old song and dance with the Packers. As long as they have Rodgers, they're fine. They don't try anywhere else then to get better, because Rodgers makes everyone else better around them. So why should they?
And it's so funny because, like, you just watch Aaron Rodgers, just terrible quarterback mechanics, just tossing off the back foot, just 40-yard dimes in the breadbasket. He's an odd guy, but he's a damn good quarterback and a first ballot Hall of Famer for sure. But like we said, they lost Devontae Adams, which apparently kind of blindsided Rodgers a little bit, which
because he signed his extension. He signed his extension first to make room, and how they moved the money around for Devontae Adams, and they ship his ass out.
And not to make matters worse, but off his ACL tear, David Bakhtiari. I don't know if he'll be ready for week 1.
And then same thing with Tonyan.
That's an all-pro left tackle.
Tonyan blew his leg out last year too, so who knows when he'll be around also. So I don't know.
But they did get Sammy Watkins, so all is well.
They did?
That ends well.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I love how when teams are desperate,
they drafted Christian.
Teams are desperate for a wide receiver. There's okay, Sammy Watkins, and that's their go-to. Like I feel like he's done that with multiple teams at this point.
Bills, Chiefs,
He was a
Ravens,
Ram.
and now he's a fucking Ram too. My God. That's kind of where he blew up a little bit.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like whatever team was desperate for number one wide receiver, so for some reason, Sammy Watkins was always the go-to. Like, all right, let's get him. It was like him and Brandon Cooks were just being moved like every other year, it seemed like.
Yeah. Oh, God. Brandon Cooks going to be burning the Texans this year.
Yeah.
Or burning the Colts. So, Christian Watson, they took second round. They went 2 defensive players for first-round picks when they were desperate for a receiver. But nevertheless, we don't run the team. Like you said, the offense will be fine. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon will help carry the load.
What do you think?
Still have Jordan.
Yeah, that's what I was about to bring up. Jordan Love. Like, what are we doing there? Because he's in, year 2 or 3?
This is year 3.
So, at that
You're going to have to pick up the option after this year.
He was a first-round pick, right? Or was he a second? Yeah, because they traded up into the first round to get him. So it's like time's a ticking on that as well. Like they can't just ride him out as a backup and then have to pay because it's like say he never plays until his contract's up. What do you pay at that point? What do you do?
And you can unless Rodgers just opts out at the end of this year and he's gone.
Yeah.
Then you can at least have like 2 years of him. Then you can decide. But if they make it, but again, it's like
it's been the same thing with Rodgers. Yes.
If they make a deep run, it's like, okay, great, we'll run it back next year. But like they need to fucking get there.
Yeah.
Or win it all. Which I don't know if they can do, but in the NFC it's doable. So
it's really the Rams, Packers, and Bucks, if we're being honest, as the powerhouses in the NFC. For the East, for what it's worth, it's like, yeah, a team will come out of the East because they have to, but are they that level? Probably not. Cowboys, not really. Eagles, not really. Giants, God, no.
Commanders
mid, So it's like the 3 division winners are the most powerhouse-esque teams at that point, and then they're just going to beat the shit out of each other and see who gets to the Super Bowl.
Pretty much. Looking at the defense, they still have Kenny Clark. He's good. They lost one of the Smith brothers, which definitely going to hurt them for sure. Quay Walker, they got former good friend of yours, Rashawn Gary, is still doing great.
Yeah.
Secondary wise, I mean, they're fine. They have an amazing secondary.
Yes,
Eric Stokes, Adrian Amos, Darnell Savage, Rasul Douglas, and Jair Alexander. So they're fine on that end. Of course, fucking Joe Barry gets to figure it out with the Packers, but with Washington, he was the worst DC in the history of the fucking NFL. Of course. But nevertheless, Packers minus 190 to win the division. Fair. Is that a good bet?
Rodgers is healthy. They're winning it. There's no reason other than that. Once we've kind of said throughout, unless he goes down, then I'd panic. But even then, with him, with limited resources that they've given him, they're still a 12 to 13 win team, I think, easy. And unless we see some drop off of talent from him come out of absolutely nowhere that we haven't seen at all the past few years, they're fine. They'll win. They'll get to at least the NFC Championship or divisional round, and they'll probably flirt with the number 1 seed as usual anyway. So the Packers will definitely win the North.
Bold prediction coming in hot.
Okay.
The Chicago Bears
will
finish last in the division.
Oh, 100%.
No. I'm saying I think the limited resources are going to hurt Rodgers. I'm sure he'll turn one of them into a wide receiver 1, but the bad offensive line is going to hurt them. And I think this is the year the Vikings take it. I think it's going to be close.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say Vikings finish with 12 wins and the Packers with 11.
Okay, nice.
A bold take.
Cool.
Lions finish 3rd and Bears finish 4th as usual, as we expected. So,
yeah.
NFC North, not the best division, but
probably the worst division. If we're the NFC East, could take the lead.
See, NFC East is just going to be so close. That's the thing.
But they're all mediocrity. That's why.
Well, here's the thing: the NFC East hasn't had a back-to-back winner in what, 13 years,
like our
basically?
entire adult lives, basically.
Yeah, because it's been Eagles, Cowboys, Commanders,
Giants,
like Eagles. Yeah,
once
16 was the Giants. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see if the Packers can get to the dance, which Aaron Rodgers has been hoping for and that we've been saying for the past few years. But nevertheless, NFC North, add that one to the book, Justin. That is done and predicted. Justin is going with the Packers with the Cheeseheads, and I'm going with the Purple People Eaters to win the North.
I'm pretty sure the other two Cheeseheads will also go with the Packers as well. So we'll get through the AFC North next, and then we'll probably head out to the East Division, and then probably round out with the Souths. And hopefully we'll get these all done by the time the season starts, which we're kind of doing an episode a week, so we should. No SummerSlam podcast. Either way.
Damn it, really?
This will be after the fact. Probably not, because Clark is still feeling under the weather, and who knows what Jesse's doing. So, yeah.